I'd like to begin with a quote from Man Ray. He started, of course, there'll be people who look at technique and ask how. There'll be other more curious types of people who will ask why. But I've much preferred inspiration to information. This approach to finding new ways of expressing yourself in photography is key for me. I remember looking on the internet and finding an HP advert for just their computers, which was directed by and created by Michel Gondry. In the advert, he used techniques such as animation, stop motion, and claymation. In seeing this, I decided there was more just a point and shoot photography, especially at A level. I wanted to do something a bit more. So after looking again at the community on YouTube, there's quite a very popular person who goes by the name of Mystery Guitar Man, who got his fame online from doing a stop motion guitar song. He played chords and added those snippets of video into one song, and now he creates an array of different experiments and projects which I saw and immediately wanted to do. I wanted to know straight away how it was possible, but how I could put my spin, my unique style into future work. And from this, I started to look at Man Ray, which is why I have put him as the main focus of this essay, especially because of the quote. But Man Ray was an American artist who had his work based, and he worked a lot in France and in Paris. He's best described as a modernist who contributed majorly to the Dada movement, which later progressed to the Surrealism movement, which is what I've been fascinated with throughout this A2 coursework. Man Ray is also famous for doing very stylized and impressive portraits, but also using photograms to create unique images, which he actually named himself raregraphs. The first photo that I'm going to be looking at in this essay is by Man Ray, and it's called Tears. Now, the justification and evaluation of this photograph is that tears are a universal sign of grief, but Man Ray wanted to put glass tears as a sign of insincerity. It was shot just the eyes, because in the 1920s Man Ray was attentive to signs and fragments. What I mean by that is, lips, eyes. My first photo included in the gathering of information for this essay is a photo of a relative when she was living in France in the early 80s. And I wanted to capture Man Ray's famous portraiture style to the photo. I just used Photoshop. After desaturating it, I used the clone tool to create the second pair of eyes. The reason I use an older photo is to relate more to his work. He worked on film. The atmosphere of the photo, I feel, is more suited towards Man Ray's style. Surrealist work featured elements of surprise or unexpected associations. However, many surrealists, artists and writers regard their work as an expression of the physiological movement first and foremost, with the works being an artifact. Salvador Dali in his work. He worked alongside Man Ray in the surrealist movement and is best known for his work The Persistence of Memory. His imagination allowed him to create worlds within his paintings which are comparable to Anthony Green. Anthony Green is a English contemporary realist painter and paint maker, best known for his paintings of his own middle-class domestic life. His works sometimes use compound perspective and polygon forms, particularly with large irregular shaped canvases, which brings me onto my next photo of the bee on the flower. I used Photoshop to manipulate this in a similar way to my Broadway final piece for my exam. But I feel this style of photo always brings out a childish fascination in most people that look at it, because it's just almost mesmerising. What I mean is, it fits in with surrealism because it's unexpected, and you couldn't have really predicted a photo like this before, which is why I feel it gives a childish fascination with the viewer, and it's spherical, so it doesn't end, which just can keep you interested for a while. My next photo I did of myself in the studio was taken unexpectedly, just on self-timer, and the way it came out with as myself in the background, slightly out of focus, and yet the hand and myself in the foreground is in focus, was a luck. However, I can't help but be reminded of Magritte, He was another surrealist painter who was known for his witty and thought-provoking paintings. I think the quote was, "Everything we see hides another thing. We always want to see what is hidden by what we see." Which is, as well, along with the Man Ray quote, it is why I do what I do. I want to hide things within my work for people to uncover and want to know why it is how it is. But I think the photo works well because it looks staged, and it's in a studio. It's well lit. It looks contrived, and it just has an air about it. Maybe it is thought-provoking, but the modern day Magritte, I think, of being witty and thought-provoking, he's comparable to Banksy, the street artist, which leads me on to the next photo. The Look Right photo just has a quirk about it. It's meant to be humorous, I suppose subtle, if you can't distinguish between your left and your right, and it fits in perfectly with Magritte, surrealism, and Banksy, which then brings me back to my quote: "There will always be those who look at technique and ask how, whilst others of a more curious nature will ask why. I've always preferred inspiration to information." And personally, this is how I will continue throughout my photography. I won't necessarily, obviously you need necessary information, especially with me experimenting with different forms of media. You need guidance as to how to create what you want to create, but in the wide scheme of things, you just gain that bit of inspiration to fuel my motivation and my creativity in all my future projects.